Now, protecting health in armed conflict is a topic that will be covered extensively across this year's summit. In 1971, a worldwide movement was founded in Paris by doctors and journalists seeking to provide medical assistance to people affected by conflict, epidemics, disasters, or exclusion from healthcare. I am, of course, talking about Medecins Sans Frontieres. Now, over the past 50 years, it's grown into a worldwide movement of more than 69,000 people. Their international president joined MSF in 2002, going on to work as a field doctor and surgeon in Greece, Zambia, South Sudan, Iraq, and Cameroon, before taking on his current role in 2019. His name is Dr. Christos Christou, and I'd like him to join us on the stage. Dr. Christos, it's so wonderful to see you. I'm such a huge fan of your organization because it provides such a path for journalists like myself in places like Yemen and South Sudan when we visit. But we were just hearing from Lord Darcy, who talked about healthcare workers being targeted and it being something that needs to be condemned globally, but it does continue to happen. And your doctors and those who work for you face this on a daily basis.
Yeah, first I really want to thank everyone for inviting us here. I'm so humbled and honored when especially I see this audience. Indeed, sometimes I run out of words to describe the situation around the world, be that in Gaza, in Yemen, in Sudan recently. But the challenges that we do face have to do a lot about protection of our people. Protection of the humanitarians, the healthcare workers. Only in Gaza we lost 8, and more than 1,000 of humanitarian aid workers have been killed the last year. 1,000. We do know that we need accountability. We need everyone to really hold those accountable and hold them accountable in the laws of the war, as we keep calling them. And this is only one of the challenges that we have. We also face serious challenges related to accessing the people that they need us. They cannot reach us. And this is mainly because there's no one safe and nowhere safe in most of the places where we intervene. And of course, hospitals are being attacked. Only in Gaza, out of the 36 hospitals, less than half are partially functioning at the moment. We don't have the drugs. We beg for syringes, we beg for bandages, and I mean,
there's no anesthetic.
There's no anesthetic, there's no antibiotics, and later we will discuss again how conflicts really deteriorate the already existing problem with antimicrobial resistance. And of course, our people have been overwhelmed. They work there day and night. They are losing their members of their families, and the members of their families are killed at the very next moment. The very next morning, they come back to work because there's nothing else for them to do. And they just want to stay there and stand by their patients. And one day, they may collapse next to the patient's bed.
There's a number of things that you've raised there, and I just want to break it down. First of all, accountability. It does feel, certainly I feel this as a journalist, that where once journalists were viewed as people that, you know, we'd wear a press jacket and you'd be protected. Healthcare workers in the same sort of way, it felt like they were protected in conflict, that they were, a group of people that shouldn't and wouldn't be targeted. Do you think there are now new norms that healthcare workers are dealing with?
Yes. Yes, I'm afraid that there is a quite worrisome trend. What we saw in Gaza, we saw that in Ukraine, we saw that in Afghanistan, back in Kudus in 2015, when a United States airstrike bombed our hospital. We lost 14 people, and we saw our patients getting burned in the ICUs. And we see that in Yemen, we see that in Syria, and very recently in Sudan. So it seems that there's such an impunity, and we cannot hold them accountable to the basics. And I'm really worried that this indeed becomes a new norm, and we should not accept that.
When you say there needs to be accountability then, what do global leaders need to do to ensure that in armed conflict, healthcare workers who are putting their own lives at risk, and you've talked about the fact that these are people who are living these conflicts themselves. They have family members who die, they aren't parachuted in, they're part of that society as well. How do we ensure their protection?
We don't have to reinvent the wheel, as we say. There's everything there. The international humanitarian laws are there. The rules of the war are there. We of course welcome every new statement, every new commitment by states, but we need action. And I'm afraid that this cannot happen separately and solely by whoever and whatever state decided that they want to push harder. It has to be as a coalition. We need all of them together.
Who do you blame when healthcare workers are targeted and killed?
It's not about blaming anyone. Actually, when they are targeted, they target humanity. They target the patients. When they target us, when they target the hospitals, when a hospital is destroyed. You know how many lives could have been saved there, and they're not. So it's not something personal that we feel the attack towards us. When they attack us, they attack the populations. And that's what they have to understand.
Do you worry every time that healthcare workers are targeted, whether that's in Sudan, whether that's in Ukraine, whether that is in Gaza and now even in parts of Lebanon, that your work will be impacted and healthcare workers won't go back to work?
This is true that we are getting discouraged, and I do worry every morning about the safety of my own people. As you said, we have 69,000 people out there that what they want to do and what they have been mandated by the more than 7 million donors, supporters all over the world, is to be there and stand in solidarity to patients and provide our medical act. These people, what they need is just the basic insurance. And they need safety in order to do their work. And they need access. So we have to enable at least these basic things. And I think international humanitarian laws and laws of war can help us as long as they are respected and not completely disregarded by each and every side, as it happens today in many of the contexts where we are.
You've worked as a field doctor across the planet in some of the most challenging places. What do your doctors now need and your healthcare workers and practitioners now need in places like Sudan, for example, or Gaza, where it's very difficult to access the basics such as hospitals, as you say?
We just need to know that there is a place that is respected, and this is called hospital. Hospitals are sacred places, and we've seen several times there treating even people that they were combatants and they were enemies. Or we, and my personal, treats people that may have killed members of their own families. And that's how we look also at neutrality in these places, how we want these places to be protected, and we want the health workers to be protected. And then we need access. We need to be able to reach the people wherever they are. And we know so many people outside there and many communities that they suffer and they struggle because they cannot even reach us. And there's nothing worse for a doctor than knowing that the needs are out there and you cannot go.
And in places like Gaza, scrambling to put the basic equipment together. I mean, I've spoken to so many doctors in Gaza who say, we are amputating on children and babies without any anesthetic, for example, and then don't have the basic medicines to continue their treatment.
Since a long time now, I run out of words to describe what is going on in Gaza. What is happening in Gaza goes beyond any imagination, and I wish I could have the words at least to transfer to you all the testimonies of my own people and those that we are treating. It's not possible. Especially the last month, there's nothing left. We are begging for the basics. We are begging for syringes, for bandages, for fuel to run our services. And it's getting worse and worse and worse every single day. Is this becoming the new norm? In Gaza, in Sudan that we haven't paid apparently that much attention, and there have been atrocities happening the last more than a year. And we were there. We never abandoned these people. We may have suspended some of our activities some time, then we were back, always trying to hold their hand. And this is so important. We are here, doctors, scientists, policymakers, leaders, and I know that people are looking at us, and they are waiting. We are their last resort, their last hope. We should not accept this from going on like that. We have to come stronger and defend humanity.
Dr. Christou, is there a story that has stayed with you in the last year that you find difficult to forget?
There are many stories that I bring in my mind, but there is one that says that when I leave from a project, when I operate the patients there and then I'm about to leave, some of them come and say that, please, don't go, don't leave, don't abandon us. And they say that, no, it's not me, somebody else will come and replace me. You know, I have also my family, I'm a human. No, doctor, you're not a human. You are my hope, you are my prayers. And this is how people out there look at all of us. And we should never forget that this is such a great moral responsibility to be able to maintain this hope for them in order to stand up and carry on.
What keeps you up at night?
Exactly this, all these people, all these patients and their communities of ours. And many times we felt so bad, we felt so discouraged in what we do. But it is them that they give us the energy, the feedback to carry on. And this is what all these people, the huge movement of MSF, with the supporters, with those that they implement what we call the social mission, and of course with the patients and communities, are becoming stronger and stronger. And especially what is ahead of us is quite dystopic. So I don't think we have many reasons to be optimistic. But what we should never let go away is the hope.
You say that you're worried about the current climate, especially the attacks on healthcare workers becoming the new normal. How do you see this evolving if it continues on this trajectory over the course of the next year, 5 years, 10 years?
Well, less people on the ground, less of the humanitarian aid there where it is needed. Apparently more instrumentalization and weaponization of the humanitarian aid itself. I'm afraid that very easily we can be co-opted, and we struggle a lot to navigate through these very charted waters. We struggle a lot to maintain our guiding principles of independence, of impartiality, of neutrality. And of course, I understand that this is not easy, but that's exactly what we have to keep doing, to be guided by them, to be driven by the medical ethics, and to have our medical action. And for MSF, of course, we also have the mandate to speak out, to bear the witness, to tell the stories, to carry the testimonies of all these people. We have been mandated to carry what we call to be the voices of the voiceless. So we will keep respecting these principles, we will keep being guided by the patient's needs, but we know that things for the coming years, decades, are not going to be easy at all.
How do you react when the media sometimes accuses MSF of not being neutral?
As I said, these are our principles, and we keep respecting these principles. These principles help us being where we are. The one of independence is extremely important. The impartiality to be able to assess the needs of the patients based on the medical needs and impartially. And of course, neutrality. Neutrality, as I explained before, in our hospitals means that people there are treated equally, and MSF does not take part in the conflict. But we have to bear the witness. So neutrality means a lot of things for MSF. But it does not mean silence.
And when you look at the policymakers, those who are driving, they have influence and they also are driving the policy, what message do you have to them today when you think about all of the things that keep you up at night? And you've talked about healthcare workers being targeted and it becoming the new normal.
I'll use an expression that one very good friend and colleague of ours who works in Chad since almost 40 years with MSF, and when I met him, he said, "No, doctor, what is ahead of us is really challenging." So there's a lot of work for all of you here, for all of us. Fasten your seatbelts, and there's a lot ahead. But we have to work together. We need these coalitions, and we have to really stand up and pay attention to the frameworks that we have already agreed, the conventions, the laws, and defend them. And let us be guided by our medical ethics, and I'm sure that we are going to bring a better world.
Dr. Christou, just finally, you've read the WISH and the WHO report. Is there anything within that, any of the recommendations that you'd like to highlight?
Well, the whole report has so many interesting things. I'm not going to stick on one of them, but I think behind reports are people, and people have to keep working together. So when we leave this room after 48 hours, we need to understand how we maintain this coalition. And MSF, who was in the past several times accused also of being more, just the very frontliners, not working in partnership, we understand how important is this now, and that's why we are here, and that's why we are everywhere outside to ask for help and give also our helping hand in moving together and having the coalitions that we need.
Dr. Christou, thank you for all the amazing work that you and your healthcare workers do, and thank you so much for joining us here at the summit.
Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.